All right, now let's begin again. Let's talk a little bit about this triple point diagram. All right, let's talk a little bit about this triple point diagram. Let me put a rather elementary drawing on the board. Okay, you all right there, TJ?
Yeah.
Land shark? Okay. Okay. That pen was momentarily a land shark. You should have seen TJ jump. Okay? All right, excellent. Turn back into a pen. Excellent. Okay, so we have a solid. We have a liquid. We have a gas. Can you see that? Does that come up?
Yeah.
Does that come up? Is that good? Not particularly great, but it's good enough. Oh, another. Oh my God. Talk about, you know, we just simply call her Sarge, okay? I mean, she is the true leader of the building. Yes, 2 visits. Augustina, you are wanted front and center. God bless Argentina.
You always think it's bad
Excellent.
news.
I know, you know? All right, so what is this called? Solid to liquid, what's that called? And going from a liquid to solid, guys, keep it simple.
Freezing.
Thanks there, Sarge. Okay, liquid to gas, what do we got?
Sublimation.
You got a lot of words floating around in that brain, buddy, okay? Just be careful. All right? I know that word just popped out. I know. You got to keep your hands on your head. There was a little hole in your head that word came out, man. Okay? Gas to a liquid. All right, excellent. Now, what happens when I go to a solid to a gas? What's that called? Sublimation. And what about a gas to a solid? Deposition. Deposit, right? Deposition. Right? Does that look good? All right, excellent. So that's pretty easy to do. Does anybody find that to be the most amazing thing they've seen since sliced bread? It's kind of a silly question because you don't remember life before sliced bread. Malik, you find that to be amazing, don't you? Yeah. Yeah. Malik is very easily impressed, which is not a bad thing. Okay? Okay? All right? All right, so I'm going to erase this. Now, what I want to do is, all right, you run a business. You run a business. And it's an old business. You know, it's kind of a retro business, you know, and this is the business. You keep important papers for people. You see, how many people understand the concept of receipts? You know, we live in a very electronic world, but you have receipts. How many people understand you have receipts? Okay, now, if you take all of those receipts, right, all of those receipts, and you convert them to electronic information, then what do you do with the receipts? You can't throw them out.
You recycle.
No, you may give them to a company for storage, right? A storage company, right? So you may never need those receipts again. But the government, which is all governments, especially the United States government, I'm telling you, the poorest individual in America has more computing power than the federal government. They have terrible computers. I'm talking about generally, not the CIA or the NSA. I mean, I'm telling you, governments in general generally have poorer computers than the general population. So maybe the government wants hard copies, right? So you've got to store those receipts, right? So you run a business which stores these receipts. It's a very lonely business because how many people do you think gives the receipt to be copied? You have the electronic data, and you don't really need the receipt ever again, do you? So it's a lonely business, isn't it, Sarge? Yeah, excellent. All right, so you have this business, okay? You have this business. All right, I'm running out of juice at this marker. And it rains one night. It's good to have this business in Abu Dhabi, isn't it? Unless you get that, we have like a day of rain once a year, a day or two of rain.
We had like 2 days of rain.
Yeah, we had like 2 days this year where it actually rained, all day. Well, what happens if you don't have a lot of sewers here, so you have like, a problem with drainage. Sewers for drainage, not sewage for other things, okay? So it rains on this company, okay? And let's say, it rains. And all of the material gets soaking wet. You're ruined. How do you pull all those hundreds of thousands of pages apart? I mean, what do you do, man? What are you going to dry them?
Yeah.
You're going to dry them and then you're going to make the paper brittle? You're going to maybe cook them, you're going to burn them?
Put them in dry ice.
You put them in. Well, this is what couldn't you do this? Couldn't you do this? Okay? You ready? Okay. This is actually what they do. This isn't like Darcy's imagination. There are companies that do this. They take water-damaged documents, and this is what they do. This box, that's a box, okay? We're going to call it a black box. Ty. Okay, it's a black box, right? Thank you, Haley, for paying attention. I appreciate your support. Now, in that box, we're going to make it, we're going to say it's going to be less than 4 millimeters of mercury. Remember the triple point diagram I showed you? Remember? The triple point was just above 4 millimeters of mercury, wasn't it? Okay? And what was the temperature? Just above 0, right? So if we say that the temperature is going to be less than 0 degrees Celsius, we're safe, right? Right? So you put in wet documents, right? You put in wet documents, hard copies, not docs like, electronic Word documents. You put in wet documents. Clear? You okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. And then you put it here and you vent. You have vents, right? You're going to lower the temperature and lower the pressure of these documents. What's going to happen to the water? Not going to evaporate. What's going to happen to the water? It's going to supplement, right? Because you have low pressure. Remember, what's the triple point? Just above 4 millimeters of mercury, right? And just above 0 degrees Celsius. So if you're below 4 millimeters of mercury and less than 0 degrees Celsius, what happens? What happens?
Liquid turns to solid.
Liquid turns to solid, solid turns to gas.
Yeah.
Right? Easy?
Yeah.
Okay. And then what's going to come out?
Dry dock.
Dry documents.
You get it? What's this called? Lyophilization. We have a guest speaker here, Michael, Professor Michael, all the way from that seat over there. We've imported him from that seat down right, okay? Michael, would you please read for us just the first little paragraph or so about lyophilization? How do you spell lyophilization, Michael?
Lyophilization.
That's a mouthful, isn't it? Lyophilization, okay? Lyophilization. All right, Michael, would you please read for us lyophilization? Listen carefully. Go ahead.
It's a dehydration process to typically used to preserve a perishable material or make the material more convenient for transport.
Read that once more.
A dehydration process typically used to preserve a perishable material or make the material more convenient for transport.
Thank you. I think he deserves a little bit of a hand. He read it very well. Okay, excellent. Now, you can also use this to make freeze-dried coffee. I think we mentioned that on an earlier tape, correct? Now, let me tell you a quick story. So, I did research as an undergraduate, and we were doing what we thought might be celiac research. And celiac disease has to do something with gliadin, right? The gliadin, like gluten, you've heard of gluten, gluten-free, it's a portion of wheat. I'm not going to get crazy about it. Anyway, we had to isolate it, yes? But when you isolate it, it's very liquidy. We need the powder form, yes? We can't have it moist. We need it powdered. We need it dry. Yes? So you can't heat it because when you heat it, you might destroy it because it's a protein and you might destroy the protein. We have to preserve the nature of the gliadin, of the gluten. Do you understand? So we would make it, there was a recipe where you actually made it and it was literally like glue. It was unbelievably thick, sticky. You got it on things, you had to use all kinds of weird solvents to get it off yourself. It was terrible. So what we used was lyophilization. We would put it in this apparatus, in this big tank, and inside the tank, we'd put it in a jar, we'd screw the tank up, screw the jar up to this venting apparatus, we'd close the top of the tank, and the tank was a lyophilizer. It was kind of sort of like this. It reduced the pressure to something less than 4 millimeters of mercury and the temperature less than 0 degrees Celsius or around 0 degrees Celsius. And what it did was you would put in this moist, sticky, kind of glommy, doughy material, and what would come out was this very fine powder. And then we would use that powder in our experiments. Pretty cool, huh? So lyophilization has a lot of applications. A triple point diagram has a lot of applications. I'm going to leave most of section 3 up to you. That's a challenge. I cover it very thoroughly in the lecture on the web, the main 2-hour and 30-minute lecture. Clear? The formation of crystals, why crystals are unique, what kind of crystals are there. I have a separate lecture on different types of crystals that you find in nature. What's a unit cell? What is face-centered cubic? What is body-centered cubic? What does all that mean relative to the study of solids? Is a crystal the only solid that there is, or are there other solids such as metals? Is a metal a crystal? These are questions you're going to have to investigate. Clear? We're done.